Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Thanks for coming on the show. So obviously, the reason I reached out to you anyway was because I saw the article around what you've done for your salary, etc. So I just wanted to ask you, what prompted that decision for you and Tony to do that?
Well, it was my idea, not his. He is the accountant. I'm the salesman. It just look, as we went into this, as it started to materialise, you still don't know how long it's going to last, and you certainly didn't know how severe it was going to be. It's probably been less severe than we thought, right? The furloughing schemes have been more generous across Europe than we thought. But my logic was simple. You know, we're going to ask some of our employees to take some pain. I think they're taking less pain than I thought they were going to. Right. But, you know, and we can afford it. You know, we should set an example. Said it to Tony. Tony agreed. And it was it didn't take very long. It took about 2 minutes to decide. I look at the professional footballers and wonder what. Yeah, you know, just do it, right? So it's not hard.
No, and it's unprecedented times as well. Like even like the footballers, you're thinking, well, why don't they make a sort of decision? And you know, when they did about Tottenham Hotspur, I don't know if you saw that, the Tottenham Hotspur thing. I was pretty shocked with that, really. But I think they've obviously turned it around now. But you know, obviously it's a gracious thing to do. But is there many staff that you've had to sort of furlough, or how's that worked? And how do you decide how many people to furlough, etc.?
Well, we've got 15,500 staff, and so
it's a lot.
And we've got so we got a lot of people, right? And we have 1,500 in either furlough or partial furlough, so about 10%, just under 10%, and that turns into a full-time equivalent of just over 1,000 people,
right?
Because in Germany and in France, you can be on partial furlough. In the UK, that's not allowed. You're either on it or you're off it. In Germany and France, you have people furloughing for part-time. So it's about 1,500 people affected, but they're not all full-time affected. There's about 600 in the UK. And that furlough staff really predominantly is one thing, and not exclusively. I'll talk about the second bunch in a second, is access to staff by our on-site engineers. So, for example, at a large German motor manufacturer, I have 260 staff on site, and that site is shut completely. Right. They cannot get on site. They have nothing to do. Right? They are clear, classic. You know, you put people for furlough. That's no different to a restaurant or it's shut. They can't go to work. End of. And the vast majority of that 1,500 people are engineers. There is a few people in the UK and elsewhere. You know, I've got 3 people that book travel exclusively. Well, you know, there's no travel going on. I've got a couple of people that do events. So there's a few odds and around the business, but predominantly it's on-site engineering that cannot have access to site. There's nobody in the sales force. There's nobody in the sales admin functions. There's the normal staff that you and I would know. It's just the on-site engineers, really, of any consequence.
Okay, so as a technology company, I'm guessing you've adapted better than most. But what challenges have you faced in terms of staff and well-being and managing your staff remotely, even though they haven't been in the office?
Well, I'll come on to the well-being. The obvious one is the network. So the VPN. Typically, we have about 2,000 people a day pre-crisis. We've peaked at 10,600 people on the VPN. That's the biggest number that we've had. But most days we'll have 9,000 people logging on externally, up from 2,000. That's a big increase. So we called that early. We increased capacity. We doubled the capacity of our network, both in the UK and Germany. And also, we can use both networks. So if we lose the UK, everybody can flip through to the German one, or vice versa. So we've got some resilience in the network. And you know, we've had one dodgy day. You know, I admit we had one dodgy day where we fell over a few times, but in general, it's been fantastic. So the resilience of networks, important for everybody's peace of mind, well-being, you know, being able to log on to calls. You know what it's like when you can't log on. Exactly. But that's pretty well. I mean, we're big Teams users inside the business. And managers have been doing a lot of work of doing Friday evenings, you know, have a drink on a Friday evening, 5 o'clock kind of calls to make people positive about their environment. You know, life's not easy. You know, we don't want to live like this, do we? You know,
no, absolutely not. Yeah, it's been challenging. Have you, obviously, you don't have to name names, but obviously your ComputaCenter deals with a lot of big corporate global customers. Have you seen any real massive challenges with them? They didn't have a business continuity plan in place, or they just weren't set up for home working? And how have you had to adapt to that?
Yes. I mean, obviously, there's been a huge spike in demand for home working equipment, laptops, lots of networking gear, particularly Wi-Fi stuff for homes and stuff like that. One of the interesting things is been delivering to people's homes, right?
Yeah.
You know, where the whole GDPR, you know, please deliver this to 1,500 addresses. You go, hang on a sec, should we have that data? If you're giving us that data, we make the assumption you're allowing us to have that data. And how long should we keep that data for? You know, if we delete it in 3 months, are you happy with that? So there's been, and actually some of the legal issues that normally would have been very knotty and you'd have taken weeks to negotiate, been bang straight through. So really, it's amazing how fast people can move when needs must.
Yeah, because are you having challenges around sort of installations and producing kit and get it out and couriers out into the market? Because like you said, 1,500 laptops, where 1,500 addresses, it must have been absolute nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, just actually trying to automate downloading the addresses onto the system, that was a big challenge. We saw a doubling of support calls in the first 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I mean, we've got 3,000 people sitting on, just under 2,800 sitting on service desks throughout the globe, and they doubled in size. And remember, we were trying to move them home, and it's easy for Salesforce or some of the admin function. You know, it's a laptop, stick it in your bag, see it at home, plug onto the network. You know, if you look at the service desk guys, the service desk agents are typically 2 screens, sometimes 3 screens. That's just order lots of Ubers, pile their kit into the back of the car, send them home. A bit more challenging in some locations. You know, we've got a lot of staff in Cape Town. We've got 840 staff in Cape Town. Some of the cities and towns where they live, the infrastructure is not as good as other locations, but it's still pretty good. Infrastructure in Cape Town has been fantastic since the World Cup in 2010. It's hugely. The network's been very robust since then. Prior to that, it was rubbish. We've actually seen a lot of customer issues with India. We don't have a big Indian presence. We have some, but getting Indian workers working from home has proved to be very challenging because they don't have the infrastructure in the cities. Right. But so we've picked up business from people with Indian call centers who can't work.
Yeah. In terms of supply from your sort of distribution partners, are you seeing a sort of a lack of stock of, you know, in terms of laptops, desktops, or in terms of products or services, or what are you seeing in terms of your distribution partners and also lead times?
We buy some through certain vendors we buy through distribution, certain vendors we buy direct, and that's more to do with the vendor strategy than it is our strategy. HP are typically somebody who likes selling through wholesalers. Lenovo, Dell, typically people that like selling direct. Cisco direct to us. I mean, not direct to the customer base. I would say yes, we have supply problems, but I promise you, nowhere near as much as I expected. I mean, I really thought we were going to be desperate for supply, and in general, that's not been the case. Is it been perfect? No. Given the spike in demand, but given what happened in China and the slowdown, the lockdowns we've had, I've found supply to be incredibly good. And as far as I'm concerned, now it's starting to ease and get better. So I expected it to be worse.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier you were on a Microsoft Teams call, and obviously collaboration tools have been vital in this crisis. Has your sales behaviour from your sales guys or your sales teams changed during this crisis period?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because at the moment, customers go to who they know. Right? You're not bidding for new customers. You're not bidding for new business, and the threat of losing a customer at this moment in time is probably less acute. People are going to their regular suppliers at the moment, and they're not moving around, and they're going to people that they rely on and they trust. So my sales force at the moment are fighting admin systems, fighting legal systems, getting availability. Are they selling? Well, I suppose that's a form of selling, but they're not pitching for business.
Right.
They are operating, and how you respond in these kind of crises buys you a lot of goodwill and favours. It's been quite interesting looking at some of the social media posts that we've put out about how our config department is responding.
Yeah.
You see an awful lot of my sales teams go, yeah, great job, guys. Well done. Things like that, which is, what you should see. Customers commenting on our social posts and thanking us.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's rare. I mean, customers, why would you do that? Right? And I think society is a little bit more grateful at the moment for everything. You walk along the street. I mean, you've done it, I'm sure. People are in general a little more friendly.
They are friendlier. They're kinder. They're nicer to deal with.
The whole world's a nicer place now. How long that will last? Will that last? I don't know. You could talk to somebody a lot wiser than me on that.
Well, it's funny. I was saying to the channel in general that the channel. Listen, I think it's been a tremendous effort from the channel in general. I think there's a lot of unsung heroes in the tech community that have kept the business world going, which is brilliant. But in general, decision makers seem to be much more kinder and much more open, which I think is a great thing. If that can happen post-COVID, fantastic. Whether it will or not, who knows, Mike? You might go back to what we've seen before. One of the questions I do want to ask you, it was about the vendors and what the feedback you've got from them is. So have you had any sort of, again, you don't have to name names, but have you had any sort of big challenges from vendors?
No, I think they're all responding well. I mean, I think some of the data has been interesting to see what's happened to volumes across Europe. I mean, you have seen the UK, volumes have shot through the roof. If you look at the latest channel data, whereas you see in Germany pretty good, strong, Denmark strong, but other places, I mean, the French market's fallen off a cliff. Spain, Italy are struggling. So there is certainly a reflection of the countries that are suffering most of this crisis, and their spend patterns going down. And I think vendors are seeing that across the board. I think most vendors that we've experienced have been very quick to respond. They're working very closely with us, and they have a challenge to their business. I mean, a lot of the funding that they're putting out, trying to, you've seen Cisco extend their credit terms back to 90 days, which is what they did during the financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, they extended it for the financial crisis, and it stayed for 7 years. 7 years, right? Which was quite. In fact, just when we got used to it, they took it away. So you have to be careful, and I think it's a good thing to do, but let's not get hooked on it. Let's get through the crisis and come back to normal. But Dell are doing the same thing. We're lucky enough not to need it. We're financially well sound, but and I think managing your cash is an important part of the competitive advantage. And under normal times, I get a bit upset when vendors just use flash credit around and support people that shouldn't be supported. In these times, I appreciate it, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. In terms of, I don't want to say the word profiteering, but when we chatted on the phone, I mentioned about we've all seen the post of the local corner shop selling toilet rolls for 50 quid or whatever it is. But not profiteering, but do you see opportunities in this market? And if so, what do you see the opportunities are for for ComputaCenter?
Look, to me, profiteering, I think it's an important point to make. So we have government framework contracts or agreed contracts with certain customers at certain margins. And given times of shortage, you could hang out and say, well, I'll sell you at that, but the margin's got to be better. I mean, that would be short-term bloody suicide. And if you're going to do that, then you're probably wanting to sell your business in the short term and take as much cash as you can. So you've got to stick with your margins. You can't profiteer out of that. Equally, the opportunities are there though. So if you're just scaling up the business, if people are buying 10 times as much, that's not profiteering. That's just sensible business. And people are out there buying more kit. And because, look, it goes back. Gartner talk very interesting. They say, people want to spend more money taking their business forward and less money keeping the lights on. And, well, you would do, wouldn't you? Right? If I said to you, what would you like to do? Pay your electricity bill or build an extension on your house, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather build the extension, please. That sounds more progressive. However, if I come along and say, by the way, someone's going to cut the electricity off, all of a sudden, sod the extension, worry about keeping the lights on. Now, this is keep the lights on time. And we are an infrastructure player, and our job is to keep the lights on. And right now, our customers within the companies that we sell to, the operations parts of IT, does, right? They've taken their underpants off, put it on outside their trousers, and they are flying. And they need the support of their suppliers, and that's what the opportunity is.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see in the market they've mentioned that they're going to be cancelling lots of the events? InfoSec's cancelled, and other global events have been cancelled. Do you see that's going to be affecting ComputaCenter in terms of you're not going to have that marketing capability, or is that not going to affect you? Do you think these big events cancelling?
Well, look, now I'm showing my bias here, right? I'm probably going to get myself into trouble now. I really hope we don't have so many events. I mean, we're just event crazy, right? I mean, I do get, you have some vendor conference, and then I look across my group, which I told you is 15,500 people, and you find, like, how many people we've got going to that conference? Oh, we've got 70 people going to that conference from different parts of the business. Christ's sake, can we send 5 and they could write a report, So I actually think, that for so many reasons, maybe, we can cut down on a bit of travel, right? I think that's environmentally good. I'm not the biggest environmentalist in the world, but I certainly have a level of consciousness around it. I think the collaboration tools have enabled us to travel a little less. Maybe we should get used to that, right? You still need face-to-face, right? I mean, but if you could chop 20% of travel, wow, what a difference, right?
Yeah, your travel and expenses bill must be on the floor now. You haven't got people dining out or going train fares and hotels. It must be quite good.
Can't believe it. I mean, you can't believe it. It is a lot of money. It is a lot. I bet. We are talking, but for the year our travel bill was about 6 million.
Wow. Yeah, Jesus.
So and I guess it won't be very much at all at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. What customer behaviours are you expecting in the next sort of few weeks? Again, we spoke on the phone, and one of the biggest challenges is we don't know when this is going to end. But in the next few weeks, sort of about April, May, what?
Right. Yeah, I think we can look at it beyond that. We're busy, right? I mean, we are super busy April and May. There's no doubt about that. We're less busy in France, but we're busy in Germany and busy in the UK. France is coming out of the lockdown probably a little earlier, so maybe that will pick up. But we are busy. We think Q2 will be robust. Q3 worries me. As we come out of this lockdown, the short-term spend requirement will reduce, and there's going to be a hiatus in the second half of the year, where, because we've been focused on the here and now, the ERP projects, the CRM projects, the e-commerce projects, the take the business forwards projects are not being done. You know, we're not building those extensions to the business, and there's going to be a quiet period to come in the second half of the year. I don't think we're going to come out of this like a cork coming out of a bottle.
Right.
I think people are wrong in that. So in many respects, we're going to struggle more in Q3, and I think the business will start picking up in Q4. My prediction is for a Q3. And obviously, it's going to be very interesting to see how many people you can get back to work. You know, I can't believe the government furloughing schemes in the UK will continue into Q3.
No.
Now, interestingly, France and Germany have already agreed 12 months.
Have they really? I didn't know that.
Schemes are,
Wow.
They've already agreed 12 months, and so is Italy. So is Spain. Sorry, not Italy. We're not in Italy. So is Spain. So, and I would be very surprised if we did the same in the UK. So, but remember, these furlough schemes are not there to prop up companies' profitability. They're there to avoid redundancies.
Yeah, keep jobs, retain jobs.
To retain jobs, right? So you know, we will be a profitable business this year. There's an argument to say, well, should you take government money if you're a profitable business? Well, to be honest, if it's about retaining staff and not making people redundant, and taking government money enables you to do that, then I think you have to. I think you have to
Yeah, absolutely. What's your view on hiring at the moment? Because when I'm speaking to all these channel chiefs and companies throughout the channel, they're in two camps. I've got camp one, I'm retaining staff, I'm not hiring at the moment, I'm just going to see how it's going for the next few weeks. Camp two is actually, I want to potentially, again, maybe they can't publicise it, but they actually want to go after staff because of that they're on furlough and because they might be unsettled, and they actually get hold of people more, and they're actually doubling down and actually hiring, and they're still hiring people. So what's your view on that, and also what's the view of ComputaCenter? What are you doing as your plan?
Well, you it depends on your function, doesn't it? I mean, you can't have engineers furloughed and go hire low-end engineers. You know, that's just ridiculous. It's crass at best. I think, you know, the talent in the marketplace will become available through this. Organizations will treat their staff unfairly. Some employees will feel they've been unfairly treated. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but certain employees will exploit the situation. They'll go over the top, maybe because they need to. You know, this is a chance to differentiate. If you are a good employer, you do differentiate. There is still a war for talent in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. That war for talent is overdone because people think it's the entire marketplace there's a war for talent, which is not true. There are significant pockets of the marketplace where there's a war for talent, but other skills are readily available. So you have to make sure you're very discerning with your HR policies in terms of here, these are war for talent people. These are, you know, readily available people. If you treat everybody like a war for talent person, you'll end up. If you treat everybody highly available, you never hire people. So you've got to be discerning.
Yeah, but in terms of if you do hire people and you've got them on, have you had to sort of adapt your inductions and your onboarding processes? Obviously, because you can't get them in the building at the moment.
Yeah, one of the things that we've done is some of our graduate trainees we've furloughed.
Right.
Just because we can't spend time educating them. A lot of them have gone away and done self-help. You got to remember, I mean, we are not just using government schemes; we're topping up as well, right? So,
right, yeah.
you know, roughly, these are people getting 90% of their pay, sitting at home doing nothing, not having the cost of travelling to work, etc., etc. You know, financially, in many cases,
they're better off.
Better off, right?
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
better off, right? So, yeah, but equally, they're bored, right? And one of the issues with furlough is not just about money; it's about worth. Everybody wants to feel value to their business. Everybody wants to think they come in and they add value.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when they said, "Actually, we don't need you anymore. Go sit at home. Come back in a couple of months," I mean, it pricks someone's balloon. You know, they feel less valued, and I get that. And nobody wants to devalue their staff. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
so we've seen a lot of the graduate scheme guys gone, right, okay, I'm going to sit at home, but I'm going to self-help. I'm going to go learn stuff about this business that I can do quietly in my own time. And that works very well because we want them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't have hired them 3 months ago if I didn't want them. You are talking about people that started in the middle of January, right?
Yeah. Graduate
trainees, no experience, started in the middle of January. You know, middle of March, they've been with me 2 months. What use are they to me?
Yeah.
But furloughed, go away, couple of months, come back, hit the ground running.
Has your leadership team had to adapt their management style in terms of actually keeping in touch with people because they can't do one-to-ones and face-to-face anymore? And yes, we've got Teams, and yes, we've got video conferencing, etc. But around almost what you said, that the boredom at home, around well-being, there's obviously a lot of anxiety out there. Am I going to get a job back? Am I going to go back into ComputaCenter and get a job back? You know, have they actually adapt their leadership style, their management style for their employees?
I think obviously, given we are a very remote business, you know, we have people in Kuala Lumpur and Cape Town and Mexico City, and as well as throughout Germany and the UK. We're used to conference calls, we're used to remote working, so we're probably better off than if you're a substantial reseller all in 1 or 2 locations.
Yeah,
so we kind of get that, and the management are used to that. I mean, I am in awe of the team. The whole people. The response to it has been brilliant. The collaboration amongst the team. You can't ask your people to collaborate if the senior team don't collaborate. That's a must. I think the way in which the team relied upon each other, they've trusted each other, they've not pointed fingers, they've got things done. I couldn't be more proud. I'm proud of this. I have it's overused. I've been doing this job for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think I probably have the strongest management team now I've ever had.
Yeah. Brilliant.
If I thought that a year ago, but I definitely think that now. I mean, I think they've done an outstanding job. I'm in awe of them, and to a certain extent, they make my life relatively easy.
Fantastic. And my last question for you, Mike. Obviously, I know you're not the World Health Secretary or anything like that, but can you give your own sort of prediction of what you think is going to happen in the sort of the next sort of 6-12 months, and how businesses and the channels going to adapt?
Oh gosh,
just your view on it.
But there's a great sketch where John Motson was commentating for the BBC, and Sir Ralph Ramsey, the Old England football manager, was his co. It was at the bowling ground, Upton Park, and he turned round to him, to Sir Ralph Ramsey, and said, "So, just sort of filling in. So, Sir Ralph, how long do you think the lights are going to be out?" Sir Ralph Ramsey turned around, looked at him, and went, "I am not an electrician." End of conversation. Right? So yes, I am not a doctor. Well, I am a doctor, but I'm not a medical doctor. I think it's going to be tough, right? I think part of, let's be clear. Let's be clear and callous. And obviously, people are losing their lives, and sadly, we've lost 3 employees so far through this.
Terrible.
One in the UK and 2 in Germany. 2 in France. So my heart goes out to everybody, and particularly the closer they are to you, the more you feel it.
Yeah.
But I do think we will. Capacity is important, as the NHS in the UK and other capacity is built up. The physical capacity and the people capacity, we can afford to unravel this lockdown because we can cope with more ill people.
Yeah.
Which is a very sad case, but it's the fact. We can cope with more people getting ill because we've got more capacity to cope. We have to unravel this. I mean, the damage we're doing to the economies are enormous. And look, let's remember, obviously you'd rather save lives than from the economic point of view, but the economic downturn is going to hurt people's lives, right? Suicide rates will come back, depression will come back.
Yeah.
We know that the lives lost through the financial crisis of 2008 is probably greater than what we're losing at the moment through COVID-19. So getting the economy back is not just an altruistic, money-driven thing. It's right for society.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we've got to unravel this lockdown. I think the UK will come a bit later. I would imagine primary schools will go back after the May half term. I don't think secondary schools will go back until September. That makes a problem with care for kids through the summer, etc., etc. So I think Q2 will be good. Should be good for the channel. You should be doing well out of it. Obviously, you've got some troubled clients, right? I mean, if you've got retailers, you've got gamblers, you've got, if you're a sports betting company, there's no sport to bet on. But I think as you unravel through this, Q3 will be tough. So Q2 should be fine. Q3 will be tough, and then I think we'll start to ease out of the market. And I think in 12 months' time we will be clear of it. But it probably take until the second quarter of next year to be clear of this issue.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.